This is Frontpage with Njideka Maduka, bringing clarity to the headlines, one page at a time.
Hello, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. Yeah, it's a fantastic Tuesday. It's a wet day. Everywhere is wet. It's been drizzles here. You know, it's still the rainy season. Sometimes I forget my umbrella when I'm going out, and then I remember, I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Okay, but wherever you are, I'm hoping that the weather doesn't disturb your schedule, and when it does, you can reschedule. You know what they say, as long as there is life, there is hope. It's a Tuesday, July the 22nd, 2025. I mean, the month is already running, but we're here to slog it out. What do we have here is the front page welcome. My name is Njideka Maduka. You know how we do it? Taking a look at all the headlines on our front pages, bringing clarity to them, one page at a time. We have the Punch, we have the Vanguard, and we have Leadership newspapers.
This is Frontpage with Njideka Maduka, bringing clarity to the headlines, one page at a time.
So let's punch away with the Punch. This one says Electricity Act fallout. Gencos, Discos rage as states begin tariff courts. Electricity Act fallout. Gencos, Discos rage as states begin tariff courts. I wonder why the Discos are raging, but let's find out. The lead says more states have announced plans to reduce electricity tariffs in their jurisdictions after the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission issued a new tariff order to Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, revising the electricity cost for Band A customers from 209 Naira per kilowatt hour to 160 Naira per kilowatt hour, effective August 1, 2025. But of course, this was, however, vehemently opposed by power generation and distribution companies, who claimed that the move may cripple the sector, as the Gencos declared that the industry is indebted to power producers to the tune of over 5 trillion Naira. Well, what do we have here? Basically, since the restructuring in the power sector, states that have met all of the necessary requirements are now in charge of electricity in their domains. And so because of this, they have the power to regulate the sector. And because they have the power to regulate the sector, the Electricity Regulatory Commission in Enugu State looked at the electricity tariff in that state and decided that a disco operating in that state, a distribution company known as Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, which is an offshoot of EEDC, Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, and we have to reduce the electricity tariff for its consumers from 209 Naira per kilowatt hour to 160 Naira per kilowatt hour, because they said since the federal government is already paying subsidy to these schools and Gencos, the tariff is supposed to be less. But the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Power Generation Companies, Joy Ogaji, said, No way, you can't do that. First of all, the tariff slash is not a true reflection of the cost of electricity. Number two, there is no subsidy policy by federal government. Number three, the subsidy budget for 2025 is just 900 billion naira. And guess what? It's not even enough. Right? Number four, other states may begin to toe the same line, trying to reduce electricity tariff, even when it's not cost reflective. Now, there are so many questions bugging my mind, based on some of these issues raised by Gencos. So what are they saying? Are they saying that the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission is wrong in their calculation to arrive at 160 naira per kilowatt hour for band A customers from 209 naira per kilowatt hour. I mean, look at the difference. That's 49 naira difference. Or are they saying that even though federal government claims to be paying subsidy, the amount they claim to be paying is still not cost reflective based on current realities? You know, for example, you look at the cost of equipment which they operate with, which are largely imported. Are they saying that the costs of this equipment are not truly captured in federal government subsidy? Because if they were truly captured, the subsidy would be higher. Now, if that's the case, who is responsible to bring that to the notice of the federal government? Are they saying the federal government is shortchanging them when it comes to the actual price of electricity consumption? If federal government is responsible for that, how are they kicking against the reduction? Shouldn't they be demanding from the FG to pay fully, as against saying the reduction shouldn't happen at all? When you look at the Enugu Electricity Regulatory Commission, it said it followed all processes to arrive at the tariff given the subsidy being paid by the federal government. And so you have to ask the question, are they, that is the Enugu Regulatory Commission, aware that the federal government usually fails to meet that responsibility fully? Should they have put that in consideration before reducing the tariff? That's number one. And number two, based on the claim that there is no subsidy policy by federal government, what do they actually mean? Does it mean that there is no paperwork that articulates federal government obligation as regards electricity subsidy? Because there should be something the federal government is working with to determine the amounts they're budgeting for subsidy. So are they saying that what government is paying is born out of goodwill and non-binding? That the federal government can just wake up one morning and end subsidy payment because there is no paperwork binding them to the obligation? Or are they saying that the budgeted sum, which is 900 billion naira for 2025, is not being paid? And because it's not being paid, at least not fully, it amounts to no policy direction. That's number two. Number three, they say the subsidy budget for 2025 is just 900 billion naira and is not enough. So the question is, should federal government pay more? Should federal government pay more? Shouldn't there be some sort of stakeholders meeting to articulate what is supposed to be paid by whom? And also you have to look at their fear that other states may toe the same line and reduce tariff. Just like the Punch is reporting, other states may key in. Should that be the fear or the fact that everybody will need to come together and deliberate on the actual cost of electricity consumption in the country? Because if a regulatory commission is saying this is what is being consumed, and some stakeholders in the value chain are saying, no, this is not the right pricing, who is saying the truth? Who is not saying the truth? Right? And you have to also ask a question, why is federal government owing? Why is federal government owing? They don't have any money or what? Because sometimes when we budget for things and we do not pay for the things we budget for, it's a common man that loses at the end of the day, right? So the Gencos are being owed, the Discos are being owed subsidy money, but is anybody owing those in the corridors of power? They still receive their salaries, they receive everything. They budget for things that ordinarily can be foregone just to meet up with these payments. You have to also ask, have electricity consumers, given what the Enugu regulatory body did in Enugu, be shortchanged? Have they been shortchanged all this while, all along? So if Gencos and Discos are frowning at the reduction in price, did they deliberately keep a sealed lip all this while? Because they're still managing the federal government subsidy, even though the payment is not coming as when due. the payment is not consistent. So who is getting it right here and who is getting it wrong? I think the federal government and Gencos will need to come together to see how they can settle that debt. Because if that debt had been settled, the Gencos won't be aggrieved. Also, they decried that the current electricity tariff is not cost reflective, meaning that it's not the amount they are even supposed to be paying. So can they finalize on the true cost of tariff and let Nigerians know what they are actually supposed to pay as electricity tariff? And finally, regulatory commissions in the various states are planning to reduce electricity tariff. The question will be, when federal government finally stops subsidy payment, will states be willing to bear the burden, or will it be to your tent, O Israel? Because it's quite easy to say, well, we're reducing the electricity cost because you're not the one bearing the cost. If you begin to bear the cost, or if you have the chance to bear the cost, will you bear the costs? All right, I'm hoping that this can be settled. Every now and then we get it on the pages of newspapers as to how much government is spending on subsidy. By the end of the day, the subsidy is not even fully paid for. Or we'll leave that particular story on the front page of the Punch. And on the second story here, all politics. Datti meets Abure faction, vows to reconcile Obi, other stakeholders. Datti meets Abure faction, vows to reconcile Obi, other stakeholders. What's going on here? Former vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dr. Datti Ahmed, has met with Julius Abure, the factional national chairman of the party. You know, there is a Nenadi Usman faction and Julius Abure faction. Both factions have been holding on to the leadership of the party. And all the while, Baba Ahmed and Obi, his boss, had always been on the side of Nenadi Usman. But he went for the next meeting of Julius Abure yesterday, and he was talking about reconciling both sides. Well, I would have asked the question if he went on his own volition or he was sent. But looking at part of what he said he was spearheading reconciliation effort between the party's 2023 presidential candidates, Peter Obi, and the other disgruntled stakeholders. It given me the vibe of, okay, he went on his own. Well, critically looking at it, despite what he said, how much of it could be as a result of what is going on in the ADC, right? The ADC coalition. You know, with the way the coalition is going, it appears not favorable to Obi. It seems the push is about Atiku and maybe Obi's side wanting to play smart, wants to ensure that they don't lose on both sides, since they send Datti Ahmed on some sort of mission and everybody's trying to play smart. It does appear to me that maybe the president will have his way in 2027. What do you think? I don't know. The coalition seems not to be coalescing. But we'll see. Somebody had to make sacrifice for those who coalesced prior to 2015 election. Who's going to make that sacrifice is what you can say as far as this current coalition is concerned. Well, leaving that story, on the front page of the Vanguard, retired police officers protest poor pension welfare nationwide. Retired policemen protest poor pension welfare nationwide. Well, retired police officers stormed the streets nationwide yesterday protesting poor pension and other living conditions. Aside from Abuja, the protests took place simultaneously in Edo, Plateau, Kwara, Taraba, and Cross River State, among others. So it was really planned. They're basically saying they don't want to be part of the contributory pension scheme anymore. You know, the contributory pension scheme, this is a pension scheme where the federal government will have to contribute to their pension account. Pay workers would contribute to their pension account a particular percentage. Then when it's time, the relevant authority will pay them some amount, right? But what they're saying is the amount being paid them monthly, depending on when they want to pay them, is not always enough, especially when you look at the economy as it is now. Some said they are being paid 14,000 naira a month, some say 20,000, some said 22,000. I mean, even you individually check how much do you spend a month on food, on transport, is more than the amount they're being paid. And you also have to take cognizance of the fact that some of them are not even working anymore. They can't work because they're fiscally weak, or maybe they didn't make any investment when they were working for government, and they're just relying solely on that pension, and they're being given mega part of that pension. And now they're saying, we don't want anymore. We don't want again, or we want to come out of this pension scheme. It's not favoring us. The IGP told them, well, they have been pushing for this. I mean, other past IGs, they had also brought this to the attention of authorities, but everything is beyond him. There is nothing much he can do except those in authority, maybe the legislature and executive, will look at that law again. I know there are some sectors that are not in this pension scheme, like the military. They're not part of it. So the police officers are saying, well, we don't want to be part of it as well, right? They don't want to be part of a contributory pension scheme. So basically what is going on here is still the problem of funds, because if the pensioners are contributing part of their salaries, part of their savings into the pension scheme, there's a possibility that the federal government is not meeting up with its own side of payments, its own financial obligation, because they're supposed to contribute a percentage as well. So are we saying that, or is the federal government saying that there is no money to make their own contribution? Remember, there was a time the president went to the National Assembly for them to approve money so that they could pay pension. So we're borrowing money to pay pension. Obviously, there's no money. Why is it that we don't have money? Most of the time, our revenue comes from oil. That is not even enough. And we've talked over and over again why we need to boost our oil production. We have talked about expanding the economy, diversifying the economy. It seems nobody is listening. So they may have to keep pushing to see what really comes out of this. I mean, the federal government is owing everybody. We just talked about the electricity distribution companies and generation companies. They said the government is owing them 5 trillion naira. So government is owing everybody. But leadership newspaper is up next. Babangida's son Mohammed accepts a BOA chairmanship, debunks rejection, fake news. Babangida's son Mohammed accepts BOA chairmanship, debunks rejection, fake news. Well, Mohammed Babangida, the son of former military president General Ibrahim Babangida, has officially accepted his appointment as chairman of the Bank of Agriculture, dismissing recent reports claiming he declined the role as false and malicious. Well, the story is pretty much clear. The president made certain appointments recently, including appointing IBB's son as chairman board of Bank of Agriculture. But of course, he's coming out to say earlier report that he had rejected that appointment is false. There have been quite a number of talks. Some people are seeing this appointment as political. Well, you can always trust the president. He's a core politician. So, is there a possibility that this may be all politics, right? You know, the elites have a way of shielding themselves, apart from the fact that he and Babangida are in good terms. How much of it is also about, the elites protecting themselves. You look at the common man, it's almost difficult to penetrate into the system. But look at the elites just rewarding themselves. But we'll see whether this is also about politics of 2027. You run my back, I rub your back. Oh well, what do I know? But that's it on the front page today. Thank you so much for joining me, and hoping that you have a great day. Hoping you have been able to glean one or two things from happenings around the country. Like I said earlier, sometime maybe you have to be praying for me to be able to bring the front page to you. I'm willing to do it. It's something I have a good feeling about, and I'm hoping that it can be successful at the end of the day. So if any of the stories actually tickles your fancy, you know where to hop in on my social media platforms, which you will see in the course of this program. Alright, so feel free to drop your comments. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time in the business of bringing clarity to the headlines, one page at a time. My name is Njideka. Do have a fantastic and wonderful day. Bye.